Hey internet, what's going on? My name is Chase, I'm your host of This Week Today, and yeah, I decorated the place a little bit. I'm glad that you noticed. While I was looking around for the right things to get for my little setup here to make it more holiday themed, I was also doing a lot of perusing on the internet looking for the right thing to talk about on This Week Today. And you know what? I didn't find a whole lot that I liked, okay, to be honest. I mean, it was inventory is weak. Oh my god, I've never heard that before. And mortgage rates are low, but then they came up, and then applications fell a little bit, and then the loan limits, like, there couldn't possibly be something more interesting than the new Call of Duty Warzone map and the new Halo game coming out. Like, who are we kidding? Until I found out about Inflation Guy. Have you heard about this dude? You probably haven't. He's the Inflation Guy. I mean, how else do I even describe this guy? Go on Twitter, look up @inflation_guy, start there, all right? So the Inflation Guy, aka Michael Ashton, has been waiting, preparing, pondering the blue orb for this moment for some, 20 years? I mean, he started in the early 2000s as a derivatives trader at Barclays Capital, and he was tapped to build a business around inflation swaps, which are contracts that let traders bet on a rise in consumer prices. In 2009, he founded an advisory business for hedging large or unusual inflation risks, and as Bloomberg describes, quote, he remained a voice in the desert crying out that he had rain boots for sale. And that's because in recent years, the U.S. Consumer Price Index has often grown below 2%, which is pretty low, pretty stable. But he had been pondering this blue orb for such a long time, and he just kept saying that the inflation risk is enormous. So here we are at the end of 2021. Big ol' inflation spike, right? And also, the Fed Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, has been claiming that it's probably just temporary supply shock as the U.S. is emerging from our COVID lockdowns and whatnot. But the Inflation Guy sees more on the way. I could go on and on about this subject, but I first of all want to say I recommend that you do a little bit of research on Inflation Guy and inflation. One of the biggest reasons, if you're under 40, you've barely experienced any inflation, myself included. And if you ever want to invest money anytime in your life ever, Michael Ashton says inflation, quote, is the risk that every investor is born with. And if you do nothing to address that inflation risk, you have it until the day you die. Okay, yeah, so yes, I did find this whole thing to be extremely interesting. But why would I find this interesting? I mean, like, right, Call of Duty, Halo is in the sphere, and I'm talking about inflation. Ashton says that his views are, quote, distinctly non-mainstream, meaning he's a monetarist, or someone who believes that inflation is mainly a consequence of too much money going around in the system rather than overheated economic growth or whatever other factors. And the difficult thing about his style of orb pondering is just that, actually. The orb pondering itself. It sounds very conspiracy theory, wizardry, whatever. But if nothing else, it's interesting to look back and see how it has unfolded and how it will continue to unfold, because he's been right. And I feel like right now I've been reading about this whole new manuscript for the next Big Short movie that's going to come out, but it's going to feature Inflation Guy instead. Thank you guys for joining me on This Week Today. I know that inflation was probably the last thing you wanted to talk about since every finance bro out there is talking about it, but we had to. I had to. Please like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next episode of This Week Today. Have a good one.